Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive on The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating. You know, we spent so much time talking about the math of money, right? The interest rates, the yields, budgets, complicated spreadsheets, but we rarely talk about the invisible forces that actually dictate how we behave with our wallets. So today, we're looking at the psychology of money. We're going to explore the hidden reasons why your financial habits, and honestly, the habits of everyone around you, actually make perfect sense.
Section 1. Who is right about money?
Okay, let's dive right into this by exploring a classic financial clash. This happens every single day, probably in households right in your own neighborhood. Picture this. You've got two people sitting across the table from each other. First, we have the investor. They put every extra dollar into the stock market. Their internal monologue is loud and clear. Keeping money in a bank is just foolish. Inflation is literally eating away at your savings. Now, sitting across from them, we have the saver. They keep almost everything in a high-yield savings account. Their internal monologue is equally loud. Investing is way too risky. I'd much rather protect what I have. The thing is, both of these perspectives sound incredibly logical to the person holding them.
So, looking at these two entirely opposite viewpoints, we kind of have to ask the ultimate question. Who is actually right here? Who has the correct financial strategy?
Well, the wild answer is, they both are. I know, that sounds strange, maybe even like a total cop-out, but it is one of the most profound truths about personal finance. Neither of them is objectively wrong, and that's because they're playing totally different games based on their own lived realities. So here's the core truth author Morgan Housel points out. Every single financial decision people make makes complete sense to them in that exact moment, based on their own life experiences. We all have this unique lens through which we view the world. To truly understand someone's financial behavior, and yeah, that includes your own, you have to understand the story that shaped them.
Section 2. Your invisible financial lessons.
So, where do these stories actually begin? Well, long before we ever earn our very first paycheck, none of us start with a blank slate. Take Sarah's story, for example. She grew up during a severe financial crisis. She vividly remembers the stress in the house when her father lost his job. She remembers the pain of her family having to sell their house and the literal everyday struggle just to buy groceries. Fast forward to today. As an adult, what's Sarah's behavior like? She avoids risk at all costs. She absolutely despises debt. Her number one priority in life is financial security and keeping a massive emergency fund. Her childhood trauma created this invisible lesson that completely dictates her hyper-conservative financial habits today. Now, flip the script and contrast Sarah with James. James grew up in a booming economy. His parents had stable jobs, they invested regularly, and he just watched their wealth compound and grow over time. The invisible lesson James learned was that investing creates incredible opportunities. So today, as an adult, his behavior is totally different from Sarah's. He confidently invests the vast majority of his income. And when the market crashes, he doesn't panic. He sees it as a brilliant buying opportunity.
It just goes to show you, our early environments plant the seeds of our adult financial identities. Whether you watched your parents build a successful business from scratch or you watched them struggle just to keep the lights on, those early observations create the boundaries of your financial comfort zone. Your story literally began before you ever deposited your first paycheck.
Moving on to Section 3. Experience trumps financial education.
This phenomenon completely explains why simply reading a finance book or taking a class rarely changes our actual day-to-day behavior. Imagine reading a book that calmly tells you, hey, market crashes are perfectly normal. Just sip your tea and stay invested. On paper, in a quiet room, sure, that sounds completely rational and easy to do. But now, imagine you've just logged into your retirement account and watched your actual hard-earned life savings plummet by 40%. Suddenly, that sterile textbook advice feels incredibly hollow and terrifyingly hard to follow. Personal experience always feels overwhelmingly more convincing than pure information. People who lived through the Great Depression or major hyperinflation don't just remember the history, they feel it in their bones.
And this brings us to the maddening chaos of universal financial advice. You turn on the TV or scroll online and you'll see perfectly credentialed experts saying the exact opposite things. Expert A yells at you to buy a house as early as possible to build equity. Meanwhile, Expert B insists you should rent, stay flexible, and invest the difference in index funds. Expert A says you must take calculated risks to grow wealthy. Expert B says no way, avoid debt at all costs to stay safe. It's maddening. Who is right?
Truth is, they kind of all are, because good financial advice entirely depends on the person receiving it. There is absolutely no universal, one-size-fits-all formula.
Your age, your income, your family responsibilities, your career path, your unique goals, all of these vary wildly from the person sitting right next to you. Expecting one piece of advice to work for everyone is literally like expecting one pair of shoes to fit the entire world.
Section 4. The empathy shift.
This brings us to a really critical turning point in our explainer today. This is where we shift from understanding ourselves to how we view the people around us. Because we judge people all the time, don't we? We see someone driving a car they clearly can't afford, or hoarding cash under a mattress, and we immediately think, wow, they're terrible with money. But consider their invisible histories. You have no idea what their story is. Maybe they grew up in extreme poverty and that flashy car is the very first time they've ever felt successful. Maybe they watched their parents lose absolutely everything in a recession, so they flat out refuse to trust banks. Maybe they're quietly supporting an entire extended family or recovering from years of crushing medical debt. Financial decisions are almost always reflections of invisible experiences.
So I want to challenge you. The next time someone makes a financial decision that makes absolutely zero sense to you, just pause. Instead of asking that judgmental question, why would they ever do that? Try asking an empathy-driven question instead. Ask yourself, what experiences might have led them to make that decision? It's a really simple shift, but it replaces judgment with curiosity, and honestly, it prevents a whole lot of misunderstanding.
Section 5. Rewrite your financial story.
Let's turn the mirror around for a second and look at how this psychology practically applies to your own life and your own wallet. I highly encourage you to actually pause this explainer right here. Go ahead, grab a notebook or open a Notes app on your phone and honestly answer these 5 foundational questions. What is your very earliest memory involving money? Was it stressful or was it happy? What did your parents implicitly or explicitly teach you about wealth? What major financial event, like a job loss or maybe an inheritance, has influenced you the most? What is one limiting belief about money that you now question? And finally, what new belief would you actively like to develop moving forward? Okay, so how do we turn this into actionable change? Because the really beautiful thing about psychology is that while your past explains your behavior, it absolutely does not have to control it. You can consciously write the next chapter differently by following these 3 steps. Step 1, acknowledge those past experiences you just wrote down. Step 2, challenge the old limiting beliefs they created. Just because your parents thought investing was a scam doesn't mean you have to believe that, right? And step 3, consciously choose a new, healthier habit moving forward.
I want to leave you with this really powerful thought from Morgan Housel to cement the core theme of our explainer today. He says, your financial decisions make perfect sense when viewed through the lens of your life experiences. Understanding your past doesn't trap you, it actually sets you free. Once you figure out why you think the way you do about money, you can finally grab the steering wheel and choose how you want to think from this moment on.
So that wraps up our look at the psychology of our choices. But it leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. If your financial habits are just a reflection of your past, what kind of future are you currently paying for? Really think about that. Now, we are far from finished. Next up in part 4 of this series, we're going to tackle 2 of the most misunderstood concepts in the world, luck and risk. We'll explore exactly why 2 people can make the exact same decisions and end up with completely different outcomes. It's an explainer you definitely won't want to miss. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next one.